Welcome to the boat shop, everyone. My name's Joe Buskins. I'm a second generation professional boat builder and a full-time fishing guide. Now during the winter months we work and repair on boats, and in the summer we're out on the boats catching fish. But we've been doing a lot of repair work and gel coat related work lately, and you guys have been sending us a lot of positivity, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to go over some of my favorite tools that we use in our day-to-day boat shop activities. Now, you don't have to have all these tools, obviously, to do repair jobs. A lot of the stuff we try to do with just hand tools are very basic stuff. But if you want to get into like a major repair job, stringers, transoms, floors, even building a small boat, I guarantee you that some of these tools are going to be tools you need. And every one of these tools, I like them. These are all good and they all have a place. Now what we'll do, I'm going to start with a few of my very favorites. And I joke around with people, I tell them I'm not a professional boat builder, I am a full-time sander. And if you're going to be doing a repair job, especially stringers, transoms, floors, and there's material removal involved, a high-speed grinder with like a 36 or 24 grit paper pad is going to be something you need to have in your kit. Now you'll notice we've got all kind of sander types, big buffing and compounding variable speed. If you're trying to polish gel coat, that would be the tool you need. That is a DeWalt. If you're doing a lot of body work and you want to remove material, but you want to remove it faster than you would with like a small dual action sander, you can use a variable speed electric, again with a soft pad and an 80 grit disc. If you're cutting through a lot of thick fiberglass, like if you're trimming edges or trying to cut floors apart, that is another little DeWalt high-speed grinder with a diamond cutoff wheel that works incredibly well for cutting through thick fiberglass. If you're working with plywood or Kusa, highly recommend a Bosch or Makita, DeWalt, a saber saw, jigsaw. Now, forgot to tell you guys, but everything you see with a little piece of blue tape on it like that, that is going to be one of like my favorite items. There's 10 tools on here that I'm like, man, if you're going to do this, you need probably one of these tools. Saber saw is one of them. Again, we've got an assortment of little sanders. This is a little orbital palm sander. If you don't want to go with air power tools, electrics are always good. Talking about demolition, if you want to take something apart, if you got floors and transoms and stringers that need to come apart, hard to beat a sledgehammer and a sawzall. This thing will tear some stuff up. Matter of fact, you can use it almost like a big fillet blade when it's running to take a stringer section out, cut floors out. Super, super handy. Now, on the other end of demolition, taking something apart, but you need to make a cut very precisely. This is a fine, it's a German, I'll see if I can find let's see, there it is. There it is. It is a German-made oscillating, there's a little diamond wheel on there that oscillates, and it makes very fine, precise cuts. Awesome little tool. Several companies make those now. You're going to need some drills and a cordless. This is just a Craftsman. Matter of fact, they sold these the other day. You can buy the two drills, impact, and drill. I think it was $100 for the two. And if you're doing a floor and you're running a lot of screws in, these things are amazing if you don't own one, and you're just going to be using a cordless drill for all kinds of stuff. Now, if you're putting through-hole fittings in, like on our big 29, when we were putting all the bronze through-hole fittings through the transom, you're going to need a legit heavy-duty half-inch drill that you can run big hole saw bits through. This is one, I mean, these jokers will torque you around, so if you've never used one, be super careful when you're handling them. They got a lot of power. So, as we move into some of the more specialized tools, like you guys come down here, we've got some of our pneumatic, which pneumatic would be air-powered type stuff, and obviously if you got air-powered tools, you're gonna need a compressor, which we'll talk about that in a moment. But this little sander, we call that a DA, which is a dual action sander. It goes around and round and oscillates at the same time. This one is made by a company called Hutchins, and I've had this thing forever, probably one of the best tools I've ever owned. Hutchins is kind of a specialty, professional grade air tool company. Same for this one here. If you got big flat surfaces to fair out, this is a Hutchins. And it's amazing the amount of work you can get done. Now, if you don't have a huge area and you still want to use air power, that little, they call that a jitterbug. That is a pneumatic. Those are super handy. Piece of blue tape on that one though, that is a little die grinder with a carbide burr on that one. And it is amazing. You're gonna get little drips and little runs. Material's gonna get up in corners and in places that it's hard to get with a big round disc, and a little die grinder is amazing for that. Same goes for a little angle grinder. So that's a pneumatic, but it's got a little teeny disc, and you can get in little bitty tight places to work. One more that's got a little cutoff wheel, so you can cut and nip and shape little pieces with that one as well. This one, piece of blue tape on that one, a heat gun. We are always using heat guns to dry out surfaces, warm up plywood that may be damp, or if you've got gel coat you're trying to move along in the wintertime. This thing throws out a lot of heat, but it's really, really good at warming up materials that are reluctant to cure or dry. Now, in the way of material delivery, a couple of spray guns might be a good idea. This one is a little tiny touch-up gun that is really cool. You can actually pivot the cup and spray upside down with this thing. And this thing came from one of our local big box stores. I don't think it cost more than $50. A lot of these air guns, if you're just delivering like primers or like PVA, which is polyvinyl alcohol, you do not need a super expensive spray gun to do that. Now there's also a unique little gun, and you guys have seen me use these little throwaway popcorn cup type deals, these little dispensable cups, just like so. You can actually put gel coat in that. It snaps onto that little ridge right there, and this is a pneumatic one as well, and it will spray gel coat pretty dang good. Neat little spraying tool there. That is more of a specialty. You could go, I tell you what, we'll try to put a link for all this stuff down below in the video. Big chop saw or miter saw for cutting pieces of kusa or cutting pieces of lumber. Really nice for making precise cuts. And then as we move over here, we've got a big router table. Now this is a Bosch, and got some drill bits on there, which would obviously, you would need those if you're going to be using drills. You need some drill bits. But this has got a very large 45-degree bit, and that is what we used when we were shaping these sides. We would cut this kusa square with our bandsaw, and then we would turn it and run it through the router to get that nice 45-degree beveled edge. And basically all you've got is a big heavy-duty router in there that's mounted within this Bosch table. And it allows you to do some pretty cool work that otherwise would be really, really tricky to do. Now, on the topic of routers, this is a little palm router. This is also made by Bosch. It's a variable speed, and you can see that little bit in there is about the radius of my fingertip. Really good for putting a radius on the edge of, well, like for example, on this combing on our boat, that radius was made by using a little router just like that. And you can radius and smooth plywood and kusa, relatively inexpensive, relatively easy to operate, and a really neat little tool. Now these aren't terribly expensive and readily available. Both of these are made by 3M. These are just little sanding blocks with Velcro, the sticky back. And you can put all different grits on there. It's real easy to change those bits out. Not a power tool, but kind of one of those things if you're going to be setting up your shop or doing some repair work. Inexpensive little tool to have. Some good extension cords. Got to have some of those, you guys. So I like the ones with multiple plug-ins on the end. Big steel gas-powered blower. Really good for just blowing out the shop, or if you're doing some grinding or sanding, you can have one of your buddies or friends stand back from a distance and direct some airflow over toward your workspace, and it'll send that dust moving away from you. Another cool little tool is an LED light. It doesn't put off a lot of heat. It's not real delicate or fragile as far as it'll take a lot of abuse. And these things are really handy if you're working underneath a boat. You can direct the light up. You can hang them on a nail overhead. One of my favorite little things to have in the shop is just some good light. Now, in the way of air movement, again, if you were sanding or even working in the summertime and it's just hot, having a nice fan or two, really a good idea. It moves the fumes away from you. It moves the dust away from you. Same deal with a nice big heavy duty vacuum. You'll see again, the vacuum's got the blue tape on it. If you're going to be doing fiberglass repair work, especially heavy duty stuff like floors and transoms, you're going to be making some dust. You're going to want a big vacuum. Go ahead and get a good one. Don't buy the little small tiny generic ones. That is about the biggest one that they offered at our local Home Depot. Now you'll see here that we've got quite the length of hose that will attach to our vacuum. That's because a lot of times you want the vacuum outside the boat and you're going to be working up in the boat, and a short hose on the vacuum is just, it makes your work difficult. And you're going to want this tip, the 45-degree tip. And a lot of times when you are actually sanding with this little high-speed grinder, it's really good at collecting the dust. For example, when you're sanding, it's going to be kicking the dust clockwise, and you may have a friend or may even set up a vacuum so that it's directing the dust into the nozzle of the vacuum. Because I get a lot of comments, you guys, and I want to thank y'all for commenting. A lot of them are very positive, but I got a lot of folks who are like, man, how do you stay so clean while you're doing such messy work? Material control, either blowing it away, vacuuming it up, or we used Tyvek suits, which brings me to the point, guys, if y'all are enjoying the content we've been putting out so far, I want to do a lot more of this. You guys, if you haven't, reach down there and hit that little subscribe button. Give us the likes and the shares. That tells the YouTube algorithm that you like what we're doing and want to see more of it, and that allows us to do more of it. So yeah, thank you guys so much. But that is just kind of a general overview. I know that was a lot of the general, just what I would call hand tools. I think I missed, obviously a skill saw would be handy for cutting plywood. Matter of fact, you can use a skill saw for cutting Kusa as well. So a couple other big tools in the shop we may use. Again, we've got another big fan here that's nice for moving air when you're sanding and grinding. A bandsaw is a nice addition to your shop. This is like a 14-inch with a tilting table. I've had this one in the shop for a minute. I know, guys, my shop's not $1 million shop. All these tools are well used, and it's like a good old work truck or even my fishing boat. They're gonna have a little bit of mileage on them and a little bit of scuffs and wear, but that's okay. Now, when we get into boat building, you know, a lot of you guys out there, if you're gonna build a boat, it's probably gonna be a smaller one, but if you got anybody, matter of fact, I just had a young man that told me that it was his goal to be a boat builder someday, and you gotta start somewhere. Usually you're gonna start with smaller boats and work your way up. But if you ever get to a point where you've got a mold and you want to build some production boats, you're going to be spraying some gel coat in a pretty high volume. And we use a 5-gallon pressure pot. We can put 5 gallons of gel coat inside this pressurized pot. And we use, that's a Binks 2001 gun, and it's an external mix on the catalyst. So the catalyst goes in here, the gel coat comes out of there. They meet midair and mix before they hit the mold. And when we're building a big fiberglass boat, you obviously can't roll it in there, and you got to have something that will deliver quite a bit of material. That big 5-gallon pressure pot is going to be for your big, heavy duty, high output applications, which also leads me to one of our biggest and most expensive tools we have in the shop for working on boats. This is a Phoenix Apollo system. Either it can be used as what's called a chopper gun or a wet out gun. Now, the chopper part would be this little air motor right here, and it pulls a single strand of fiberglass fibers through excuse me, and cuts them up in little bitty pieces. It kind of replicates what we would call MAT or CSM, but we don't actually use that part of the gun when we're building a boat. All of our boat work is done hand-laid biaxial glass. And what's cool about this is you can turn the chopper part off and you can just use the gun to dispense resin and catalyst pre-mixed. And you can see here, obviously this thing, we've got the 50-gallon drum, and then this container, actually, that is all MEKP or methyl ethyl ketone peroxide hardener or catalyst, if you will. And this thing's kind of cool because it's on a cart and we can roll it around, and then you've got this big boom overhead. And this thing is kind of neat. It actually will articulate. So when we're working on a boat, we can swing this around and we can dispense resin rather than having to mix up batch after batch after batch. So obviously, guys, we've got some other tools in the shop as well, and I would love to hear what you guys like. Maybe am I missing a tool? Is there something you think I should have? Or maybe I'm something I'm not aware of, or something you really enjoy working with. I'd love to hear from you guys in that department. And if this is your first time visiting the channel, welcome. We've got well over 150 videos, all kind of boat building, boat repair, and a lot of fishing content that has to do with our charter business as well. So once again, thank you guys so much. It's Captain Joe here with Island Marine Charters, Fish Bump TV here on YouTube. And as always, we will catch you guys next time out.